Everybody, hey everybody, welcome back to another video here for Banish the Doubt. I am in this human form, George McNamara. I identify as George McNamara, and I bow to the light that is inside of you. I'd like for you to just close your eyes and think of these words. The world answers to one and only voice, and that voice is mine. I would like for you to just sit with that for a second. Repeat it to yourself. The world answers to only one voice, and that voice is mine. Now, when I say that, the ego part of you and of me says, yeah, my voice. I'm the control. I'm in control. I'm the king. I'm the queen, whatever. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about everything you see in your life, everything I see in my life, the fact that you're here, that this video found you, that you attracted it into your world, to your reality. You did it, nobody else. So therefore, you tell yourself for the next week, talk to yourself like this. I am already free. I am. You just start off with saying that. I am. Just say that. I am. Don't identify. Don't try to put anything with it. Just say I am. Because in the Bible, it says, be still and know that I am God, not an entity outside of you that we've been taught to believe in. Not Jesus, nothing. They were telling you and me metaphysically that you are God. Again, not in an egoic sense, but that you and how you talk to yourself sends out a vibration, a frequency to the field, and the field replies, reacts, or not reacts, but the field responds, reflects back to you everything that you say that you are. And then the people who think likewise appear in your world. The events, everything takes shape based off of how you see and think of yourself, how you believe in yourself, what you presume is true about yourself, what you assume is true about yourself, not the world, yourself. Everything works off of that. That is the template. That is the foundation. On a cellular level, you and I, even smaller than the cells, you and I are made up of 7 quadrillion. That's the number 7 and 28 zeros after it. Atoms. And each of these atoms is billions with a B years old. So when I say I identify in this human body as George McNamara, that's the ego. The ego identifies. The ego puts labels on you and I. This is my name. This is where I come from country-wise. I am blank American or blank whatever country you're watching me from. Again, there's nothing right or wrong about this. It's just, it is what it is. But this is how we've been conditioned. This is how we've been programmed to live. This is why the world is very tribalistic. Us here, you there, this political party, that political party, conservative, liberal, far right, far left. They're right, they're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. Because the ego does this. It pits one against the other. You're never going to have enough. Everything is right now in this moment. There's nothing else going on. The tide rises and it falls. Think of the wind blowing. Can you see it? No. But you notice the trees moving. You can feel it against your skin. So the cells have receptors on them, just like us, our skin. And the cells adjust to the environment, but not the real environment. Not the one I talk about where you and I are the light inside of us. We are light. The cells adjust to the interpretation, how we see the environment. It adjusts to that, our mind. So this field sends you and I a reflection of our innermost thoughts, feelings about how, who, and what we are. And these thoughts then go into our mind. The brain then takes that information. It sends a chemical reaction into our bloodstream. And then we feel based off of that. But the starting point always is, what must you and I believe about ourselves, feel that we are, it is right, it is an assumption. What must we presume about ourselves? So for the next 7 days, talk to yourself as if whatever it is you desire to have, and if you would desire to have whatever it is, the fact that you desire is because it's already in the field. Everything is done. You are already the millionaire or the billionaire. You are already successful at whatever it is. You want to play a certain instrument. You want to get a promotion at your work. You want to start a business. You want to be with a certain person. You want a healing process. Whatever it may be, you see it as already done. Whenever you encounter somebody, and if they trigger you, you look at them through the eyes of they're already the way you'd like them to be. And you actually can change them just by doing that. See, when Jesus was performing the miracles, he was looking at the person as if they were already healed. He was so steadfast in this belief, this feeling that, yes, you are. He saw in them what was already there, what they desired. So he saw them as that. And we call this a miracle. So you see yourself first and foremost as that. I am, and then you fill in that blank after it. The challenge, though, is to go through your reality when what your previous thinking is showing you, but you stay steadfast in that belief. I am a millionaire. This amount of money, I have already generated this amount of money. I am perfect health. The senses say otherwise, but this is where you stay steadfast in your belief of who you are. I am in that relationship with that person. And then the person who embodies that will show up in your life, or better yet, you're going to be able to see them. The veil is going to drop. And this is why the ego holds on. The ego says, you must be this or that in order for me to be happy. And then we hang in, we stay with the ego. So no, you have to figure this out. You have to control the other person. You have to control the narrative. Now think of the words that we use here in America. The words that we use are words of survival, are words of stress, because the majority of people who live here are living in what's called survival mode. We came into an environment that was already stressful. I contend that the average person who gets married is not emotionally ready for the marriage. Therefore, they're not even emotionally ready to raise a child. Because the majority of Americans or people in this world have not been shown this, not taught it, but just shown this. This is not taught in schools for a reason. The system that I call, it's a system, cannot allow you to know this. There is no, okay, children, we're going to learn about the body and learn about how you feel about yourself is sent out to this thing called a field, and the field then reflects back to you how you feel about yourself. Nowhere in school, nowhere in any type of curriculum is this shown. But it takes the traumatic event in our lives. For myself, it was cancer. For myself, I very much grew up in an environment, in a household where neither one of my parents were emotionally stable enough to be married, let alone have 4 children. But here is the part that ties it together. So my father had been in a marriage that was falling apart, from what I heard, that they were heading for a divorce. But then his wife passed away from cancer. He had a daughter, and he was alone. They were alone. They were on by themselves, not alone, but they were for about 2 years. He met a lady, and it's a small town, so he knew who her older sister was. They kind of hung around the same circles, if you will. She became very infatuated with my father. My father saw in her safety, a person who could take care of her daughter, his daughter, and they got together. And before the marriage, yours truly was conceived. So again, I contend they got married because what had happened. But my father was not in love with my mom. She was very much infatuated with him. Fast forward 40, almost 40 years, I meet a girl who was very infatuated with me. I'm love her. Yes, I'm not in love. She has a daughter from a previous marriage that fell apart. Had been on her own, the girl, for about a couple of years. You notice the similarities. We got married. Neither one of us was ready emotionally for this undertaking. There was a certain amount of guilt. Oh, I got to take care of this child now. You see the similarities. You see it play out all the time. Think of the person. Now close your eyes. Think of the person that you know, and then you know their family. And tell me if they're not just like mom or dad. This is why. Again, the field reflects back to you your thinking. My brother, our father was in the service. my brother in a way to get more connected to our father because he was not emotionally that available. He was also an alcoholic. My brother went into the service. Our father was in the service, a way to try to make a connection. My brother also became an alcoholic. See it? You're noticing all these similarities? We follow the same path that is laid out before us by those who were our caretakers' parents. We follow a very similar path, very similar path. So this is why I'm saying for the next 7 days, change the narrative. I am, and you fill in that blank. But you are that person who you desire to be. And every time your life shows you something different with your senses, you stop and you say, no, I am this person already. I'm already living this life. And whenever you catch yourself with the old thinking, recognize it as the old thinking, like an old garment that you're wearing. I'm going to shed this old garment. I'm going to understand that the first and foremost, the only relationship that is ever worthwhile is the one I have with myself. And that I forgive myself for anything in the past. I'm no longer hanging on to anything in the past. The past is just an imagination. That's all it is. It doesn't exist. I'll end with this. Think about when you were growing up and that first year or so of your life. If you can remember that, you can't because your subconscious brain was on, but your conscious brain was not. But I'm just going to share with you this. That's something you can relate to. When little girls play with dolls and they have tea time, there is actually tea in those cups to the girl. But to the world, says that there's no tea there. But to the girl, oh, yeah, no, there's tea there. Look, we're serving each other. We're having fun in imagination. But then the world comes along as we become conscious and says, that's just make believe. That's all it is. It's fake. It's not real. And we go along, we dutifully go along and say, oh, yeah, okay, you're right. It's just make believe. But make believe, the imagination, look around you. This computer I'm transmitting this video through was once make believe. It was an idea. It was an imagination that became real because whoever it was, Bill Gates or whoever it was, saw it as, no, this is it. It is here. The airplane is here. The Twin Towers were there. The Empire State Building was there, here first, before it became here in the material world. So therefore, your world, everything you see in your world is there because you put it there. The first and foremost and most important voice in all of your world is yours. Have a great day.